I'm Ryan Zawacki, agronomist with First Farmers Co-op in Henderson, Tennessee, and today I'm standing here with Josh Johnson with Agri-Advantage. He's a very well-known and respectable consultant in our area. And Josh, today I want to ask you a question. On your in your time in the wheat field, what stage of growth development is our wheat at right now?
Basically, Ryan, all the wheat at this stage is at growth stage 3. Probably looking at end of February before we start getting into growth stage 4 and 5. So right now, it doesn't matter if it was planted late or planted early, everything's going to be pretty much at the same growth stage.
I see. So most of our wheat has received the first shot of nitrogen, around a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So let's discuss the next ideal timing of the second shot that's in the next winter.
Right. So the first shot of nitrogen, usually we try to go with that growth stage 3. And the second shot, we want to time that at growth stage 6, which is right there at joining. And we'll put anywhere from 100 units to 135 units, really depending on when it was planted, how big it is, and the growth stage, whether it was planted no-till behind corn or behind cotton and soil types. So we're probably looking at somewhere between middle of March to the third week of March before we're going to do that second application.
We talk about nitrogen and applying it, but also there's other things out there we need to manage, and that's weeds. So let's kind of talk about your thoughts on, I think, 4 main weeds in our area are poana, ryegrass, henbit, possibly wild garlic. So let's talk about the plans that may be in the area to combat those weeds, not only with our herbicide applications, but mixing them in with nitrogen, our liquid nitrogen.
So as far as you just kind of touching on them individually, the poana, we usually try to take care of that if we can in the fall.
Right.
Depending on planting date though, you get into situations where you have to do a spring application. The only product really out there that'll kill poana successfully is Osprey. And the problem you have with that applying it in the fall is you got a 2-week nitrogen restriction, so you can't put your nitrogen on 2 weeks before or after poana, or before or after that application. But if you do have that issue, Osprey at 4.75 ounces is about the only thing you can do. And then if moving on to ryegrass, if ryegrass is your only issue in that field, then Axial Bold is probably your best option for that. That can be mixed with Harmony or Culex, depending on what other weeds you have present in the field. It doesn't kill anything other than ryegrass, so if you've got little barley or you've got the poana issue or any kind of cheats, you got to drop back to something else. But again, Axial Bold, or if there's some Axial XL left on the shelf somewhere, either one of those will work fine. And then I believe you said henbit.
Correct, yeah, henbit.
Henbit, you can go with your Harmony, depending on how bad it is or how big, anywhere from a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 of an ounce. Really, I swap more off to Culex now at 3/4 of an ounce. Not so much for the henbit control, as in certain areas in West Tennessee we're starting to see some resistant chickweed to your ALS chemistries like Harmony. So in most cases, if I can use Culex, I'll use Culex, unless I get into your other issue, which would be the wild garlic. Culex won't do anything for that. So in some cases, if it's bad garlic, I'll go with the full 3/4 ounce of Harmony. In some cases, I'll still use Culex and just spike it with a 1/2 ounce of Harmony.
We've talked about weed control and managing our nitrogen on the fertility basis. So if we were to have some customers, or if we have a customer that's really wanting to maximize their nitrogen rates and some high yield wheat, how would you utilize a plant growth regulator in the weeks to come on our wheat height management?
So the plant growth regulators like Palisade, the rates anywhere from 10 to 14 ounces. If I'm trying to push that crop, or if it's just some residual nitrogen from last year and it's already more aggressive than it should be, then I'll go anywhere from 12 to 14 ounces. And the Palisade itself really doesn't give you a yield bump. It's just a matter of keeping that wheat standing.
That's right.
Wheat basically responds to nitrogen
Right.
all the way up to the point that it falls down.
So you're trying to shorten
So-
those internodes.
You want to shorten the internodes, but you want to be able to put as much nitrogen on the wheat as you can without it going down. And the theory behind the Palisade is, well, you're kind of taking that going down out of the question. Because just like you said, if you apply Palisade at the right growth stage, then you will shorten those internodes and shorten that crop and increase standability.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with Palisade is, when do you apply it? Most people want to put it on with their herbicide.
Yeah.
And in past several years, we've been able to do that. But now if it stays these kind of temperatures and we do swap over to growth stage 4 and 5 and need to be spraying our herbicides, you might want to consider, letting it warm up and coming back with it.
Yeah. So last but not least, Josh, it doesn't seem right talking about it with the weather as it is out right now, real cold and frigid. But the wheat itself in its plant health, what do you think would be a good strategy to have a good clean flag leaf and managing our head scab?
All right. So first and foremost, we got to manage for scab. So we know that we're going to do that treatment regardless. And there's some products we can mention that do better than others in the timing. So, but as far as a complete health program on wheat, what I would typically like to see, or what I do, is when we grow out with our 4 and 5 herbicide application, and hopefully we're mixing Palisade in at that time as well, but usually I like to put in some kind of cheap proconazole, such as Topaz or something of that nature. And hopefully that buys me time till I get to my head scab. So I skip the flag leaf treatment, unless, scouting, I see some stripe rust come in, which is primarily what you're going to see. If you put the tilt out at that 4 or 5 stage, usually that keeps your septories at bay and your powdery mildews at bay. And really the one that's going to bite you, if anything does, is going to be the stripe rust.
Right. Yeah.
And certain varieties are better than others on that. But provided that stripe rust doesn't come in a cool, wet season, then we can make it all the way to our head scab treatment. And at that point, we're going to probably use a product such as Miravis Top or Caramba. In the past, we've used more Miravis Top since it's come out. It provides you a little bit longer window than some of the others. Whereas back when we was using Caramba or Prosaro, you was really shooting for a really narrow window, that 10.5. Now we can go from probably 10.1 to 10.5 and get about the same control. That's right.
Well, I hope this information as far as wheat management has been very, very helpful to you. And we'd like to thank Josh Johnson with Agri-Advantage. And also, as always, First Farmers Co-op is proud to be first on the farm.
Thank you.